I thought tonight was just a quick drop-off at Dallas Love Field, but some nights, the calm is only a cover. Stay a few minutes. This story might help you see the signs before it's too late. Hit subscribe, comment your city and the time you're watching. Your story might help someone escape family betrayal. I'm Etta Mae Robinson, folks. Call me Miss Etta, 70 years old, living in Oak Cliff. In November 2024, I drove my old Chevy down to level P3 at Dallas Love Field to take my daughter, Simone Robinson, on a work trip. The air from the vents felt sharp and cold. My grandson, Malik, 7 years old, hugged his dinosaur backpack and stared at the neon lights. Since his daddy, Reginald Reggie Walker, passed away, he talks less, he watches and listens more. Simone snapped her suitcase shut and gave a polite smile. 3 days, Mama. Her voice was firm, like a finished box on a spreadsheet. We walked the hallway to the terminal. I pulled up my collar. It felt like walking through a cold pool. Sometimes a mother thinks she understands her child. Tonight, it felt like a thin glass wall stood between us, clear enough to touch, not enough to hold. At the elevator, Simone bent to kiss Malik's forehead. Be good, okay? Listen to Grandma. I wanted to say something warm, but my throat felt dry. She hugged me by the book. Mom, take Malik home and give him his medicine. I'm heading to the gate. Her suitcase wheels clicked behind her heels. I watched her fade into the crowd. Since Reggie died, Simone runs toward work. Sometimes people run, so they don't have to hear their own heart crack. I turned back to the escalator and took Malik's hand. P3 smelled like metal and floor cleaner. Everything looked fine. A few cars starting up, a green exit sign, a beep from a key fob. Let's go home, I said, trying to sound light. I'll tell you a dinosaur story. Malik nodded. It was all so normal you could ignore it. But normal is how danger sometimes walks in soft shoes. No sound, that's how family betrayal hides. At the northwest row, I pressed my key. My car lights blinked twice. Malik froze. His small hand clamped my wrist, tiny but strong, like a hook. I bent down. What is it, baby? He looked up. The fear in his eyes was too clear to call it pretend. Cold ran up my neck. At 70, I trust my body's warning before my mind argues. Grown-ups call it gut feeling. It's just the heart's secret math. Grandma! Malik leaned close and whispered in my ear. Don't go home. 3 words pulled the air tight. I tried to joke. There's soup waiting. He shook his head, voice low. This morning, I heard Mama say, make it look like a gas leak, like an accident. Each word opened a door I didn't want to see. I stood still, hearing my heart hit like a hammer. In 40 years of being a mother, the string between me and my daughter had never felt this thin. But the string between me and my grandson was different. His grip was the alarm. If you're still here, take one deep breath. Family betrayal doesn't always stomp in with muddy shoes. Sometimes it smells like a nice perfume and speaks in a loved one's voice. Tap like, subscribe, and write your city and the time you're watching, so we can walk through this night together. I thought this was a simple goodbye. It was really a line between life and death, and a small hand just pulled me back from the edge. I bent down close. Malik's hand still squeezed my wrist. His tiny nails left 5 white marks. Cold air from the tunnel blew past and shook my coat. Grandma, don't go home, he whispered. His breath a thin line of smoke. This morning I heard Mama say, the gas leak has to look like an accident. In my head, the word gas went in a circle and knocked 3 hollow times in my ears. The grown-up part of me tried to clean the words up fast. Kids dream. Kids mix things up. Kids overhear and connect the wrong dots. Level P3 was silent. I only heard a rolling suitcase somewhere, and my car lights blinked twice. I loosened Malik's hand just to hold it tighter. When did you hear it? Protection. When I pretended to sleep, he said. He didn't blink. Mama talked in the office. I stood in the hallway. Mama said, at night when they sleep, make the gas leak, like an accident. Then Mama talked about Grandpa Reggie's insurance papers. The mother in me grabbed every harmless reason. Maybe the gas bill this month. Old pipes need a worker. Simone works in marketing. Maybe it was a crisis drill she was practicing. I fired off rescue theories at myself. But my body didn't agree. My heartbeat changed. The skin on my neck buzzed. That's when I knew why people say gut feeling is a notebook without words. It stores the data of all our days. Are you sure it was gas, Malik? Friendstay, which to the duated. He nodded, very small. Mama also said, don't leave a trace on the card, don't make the neighbors suspect. The tunnel felt long, like a tight string on a guitar. I looked back at the elevator. The green exit sign floated. I heard myself from a minute ago when I still believed this was a normal airport goodbye. The ground slid half an inch. Sometimes family betrayal doesn't come with a loud bang. It comes as a whisper from a child who pays attention. I pulled Malik into the dark space between two concrete columns, hiding from any wide-angle camera at the end of the row. Tell Grandma the rest. Word by word. Probable and it. His voice was steady, like he was replaying a tape in his head. Simone called a man's voice, told him to watch the time, said Monday night, talked about locking the kitchen window, turning off the smoke alarm. Then there were numbers, a money transfer to come later, just like the deal. Malik didn't understand it all, but he remembered the numbers. The numbers stood up straight in his memory like little blocks of wood. My throat felt dry like brown paper. I had taught my daughter how to check flight times, how to spend with discipline, how to call a plumber. I had never taught her how to dodge cameras, how to kill a smoke alarm. Big questions pushed in my head. When did the reins inside her snap? What signs did I miss? And right when those questions were about to swallow me, Malik pulled me back with another rope. The present. Grandma, let's not go home, he said again. His voice did not shake. I put my hand on his chest and felt his small, fast, steady heartbeat. Okay, I said, slow, so each word could anchor in the air. Grandma believes you. Right then, the cold at my neck stepped back a half step. A decision, even without a map, flips a switch so a dark room shows its edges. Trusting a child is not a vote against reason. Trusting a child is looking straight at the data he brings when that data matches the little details I had already gathered without noticing. Simone's sleepless nights, the calls behind a shut door, the times she asked about the house papers with too calm a face. I pulled the key from my hand, turned off my car blinkers and closed my purse clip. Let's go, I said, but not the usual way. I moved Malik along the wall, under the cameras. Years as a single mom had taught me hide and move tricks you'd think only guards notice. Walk behind columns, don't stop under the center lights, take the stairs, not the elevator, switch floors halfway, turn on the phone only when needed. As I pushed the stair door, a thought hit me, a line I had never said out loud. Some life-saving lessons you only learn when there's no one left to ask. The stair door opened, damp concrete smell. I carried Malik down 2 steps, then let him walk while I held his hand. Between P2 and P1, I stopped and pulled out my old brick phone, the backup I keep in case my main phone dies or loses signal. I took the battery out of the main phone and put it away. From now on, you only talk when Grandma asks. We're going to find a friend. Mr. Otis? Malik whispered. I paused a beat, the name popped from his memory like a flashlight. Yes, Mr. Otis. I thought fast. If Simone planned the house, she also planned the places I lean on: church, close neighbors. But Mr. Otis Harrison, the doorman at our old place, south side on Lamar, lives in a little room behind the desk, comes and goes without attention. That's a blank spot on my life map Simone rarely remembers. I opened the side door at P1 and led Malik to the rides area. No, not a ride, no card trail. I chose a late-night city bus with a transfer near the Trinity. Cash slid through my mind like a checklist. I had some in my wallet. Enough. And if not, Dallas folks know how to share if you know how to say, I need help. I have good knees now. Outside, the city night had its usual colors and smells: oil, plastic, a 24-hour burger stand somewhere. I lowered my voice and looked straight into the camera in my head, because I'm telling you this right now, at the moment things turned. Sometimes the biggest truth comes in the smallest voice. You're here with me at the P3 elevator hall between denial and belief. If this story touches you, please hit subscribe and comment your city and the time you're watching. I want to hear our community's voice, because one comment from you might be the handrail someone needs when they're about to fall. The bus came with a puff of air. I took Malik to the back row, our backs to the glass. I told him to pull up his hood to cover his face a bit. At each turn, I checked behind us. Was that a black sedan following? No, maybe just adrenaline playing tricks. But one thing wasn't a trick. Suddenly all the small notes in my head linked up Simone's daily rhythm, how fast she can switch plans, who she might call. Malik rested his head on my shoulder, eyes still open. Grandma, if Mama is wrong, what then? I kissed his forehead, where the fear was still warm. When grown-ups do wrong, grown-ups must take responsibility. And when you tell the truth, you did the right thing. The bus bumped over a pothole. I thought about the smoke alarms at home. When did I last change the batteries? Why didn't I hear the low battery beep? The kitchen has a small window. Simone once said she wanted to switch to a gas pot. Those thoughts formed a red banner across my mind. Do not go back. At least not tonight. We got off near the bridge. Wind from the Trinity stung my eyes. I led Malik down a side street, away from the main corner cameras. My old brick phone buzzed once some default message from the carrier. I shut it off. The glass door of a convenience store threw back enough light for me to see us. A 70-year-old woman with gray hair and a small boy in a hoodie, his hand still not letting go of mine. The day Simone was born, I said. You belong to the light. Tonight, the light in her child is the truth, a truth that hurts to hear, but must be followed. I chose to follow it. Are you scared, Grandma? Malik asked, half testing, half calming me. Of course, I said honestly. Fear tells us we're alive, but fear doesn't steer my hands, okay? The truth does. He nodded, and for the first time since the airport, I saw his eyes relax a little. I realized something else. Malik didn't bring only a warning. He brought a map details, numbers, voices, breaths, times. That's a map a grown-up like me can use to walk from gut feeling to evidence. At the corner, an old taxi waited with no passenger. The driver sipped coffee from a paper cup. I asked if he took cash. He nodded and unlocked the door. I gave the address Southside on Lamar, but told him to stop a bit before the gate. I wanted to mark this moment in myself, so later when I tell you, I'll remember. The second a grandma moves from denial to belief, it's a very soft press on the gas. The car rolled smooth. Through the back window, the airport slid away. Yellow lights smeared into lines. I thought of Simone. Was she on the plane already, or had she turned around? Did she know we were off the route? I didn't have answers. But I had a new rule. From now on, every step will be like walking on thin ice, light, quick, no trace, always facing the shore. Malik fell asleep in 5 minutes, his hand still holding mine. I pulled my coat over both our hands, hiding a piece of love any eye could spot. When the car turned toward the old building, my heartbeat finally slowed. Stop at that corner, I told the driver. Then I woke Malik. Son, we're almost at an old friend's place. From here, we need more allies. My first ally tonight is that small voice. It helped me do the hardest thing, leave the old orbit. The next step is to find evidence because trusting a child is the start, but saving him takes a plan. Somewhere in the dark of Dallas, family betrayal has flipped a switch. I just flipped another one for survival, for justice, and for a tomorrow where Malik can sleep in peace. I told the driver to stop at a 24-hour gas station along the I-35E frontage road. The metal roof shook in the night wind. Neon lights spread over the oily concrete. I picked this place not for gas but to change the space, break our trail, and let my heartbeat catch up with my thinking. Wait 10 minutes. I'll pay cash, I said. He nodded. Late-night Dallas drivers understand. Few words, right stops. I took Malik into the convenience store. He still held my hand. His eyes checked the ceiling corners where small black cameras sat. I whispered, "Look at cameras like stars, count them, remember them, walk a little off to the side." He nodded and pulled his hood lower. I bought 2 small waters and a weak coffee with cash, plus a kid's baseball cap with the local team logo so Malik could look different. The cashier asked, "Do you have a member card?" I smiled. "No, I just want to pay." I heard my own voice switch from unsure to in control. We sat by the door on plastic chairs, then my main phone, the one I thought was off, buzzed. The screen lit up. Simone. Malik stiffened. The glass window felt like a tight picture frame. I answered and held my breath. "Hey, Mama," Simone said, calm, like she just finished a work talk. "The flight had a problem. They moved me to tomorrow morning. I'm driving back home." Sing? Dominoes lined up in my head. Why would someone like Simone, who is obsessed with schedules, suddenly change flights? Why call me right now the minute I leave the airport? If she thinks I went home, what is this call for except to pin me on her map with words? "We stopped to get dinner," I said, keeping my voice even. "Malik is hungry." "Where?" she asked right away. Soft voice, soft like silk over a needle. I looked around the gas station. Taquitos, $2, 24/7 car wash, a dark ATM corner. I said the name of a restaurant near an Oak Cliff Mall, the kind I knew was closed at this hour. A small test. A little net thrown into the air to see which way the wind blows. Simone paused one beat. Oh, okay. Eat well, don't rush. Come home, slowly. I smiled at the glass, but my chest went colder. This soft trap was familiar. Tell me to relax while checking if I fit her. Plan. If I'm going home, she wants the time. If I'm not, she wants to hear a shaky comma in my voice. I hung up and looked at our reflection. A 70-year-old grandma and a 7-year-old boy like any pair, and like no one else. Malik whispered, "What did Mama say, Grandma?" I stroked his wrist. She said her flight changed. She's going home. But what do you hear? I pointed to the oil-stained lot where a short light pole threw long shadows. You hear the silence. Malik looked up, dark eyes steady. He understood. Silence has a shape. When someone sets a trap, they fill the empty space with, "Take your time." Tonight I learned my daughter says many things by how she doesn't speak. I took off a pen cap, pulled a blank receipt, and drew a quick map. Airport I, 35E gas station South Side on Lamar. Next to South Side I wrote OTIS, each letter a job. Observe, time, invisible, safe house. I told Malik, from now on we play invisible. Pay cash for everything. Don't stand under the bright middle lights. Use paths with camera blind spots. And I squeezed his hand any time you feel something is wrong. Pull Grandma's hand like you did at P3. He nodded, firm. I stood, took my coffee, and walked out to the pumps like I had a car to fill, though I didn't. Pretending is also a coat you can wear. After 5 steps I glanced up. Camera has shown turned slowly. Camera #2 under the roof corner looked dead. I counted the turn speed of camera #1 one full circle in 12 seconds, enough to know when to slip past the bright strip. Grown-ups forget that survival is sometimes a game of seconds. My other phone buzzed. I pulled out the backup brick, the one Mr. Otis taught me to use when you need to go under the radar. I turned it on for 3 seconds. No contacts. I only checked the time. 2:07 a.m., then off. Simone might ping my main phone's location with family share if it somehow turned on. I took the SIM out of the main phone, stuck it under my coffee lid, and tossed it in the trash, not to break it, but to stop my scared hands from turning it on by habit. I poured a little water on my fingers, wiped Malik's face, fixed his hood. I needed him to look like a tired kid after a trip, not a kid on the run. Low-cost disguise, high-focus mind. Back inside, I bought wet wipes, a granola bar, and most important, a paper map of Dallas-Fort Worth. The cashier laughed. "Who uses these now?" I smiled. "People who don't want to get lost." I did want to get lost, but on my own map. In the car, I told the driver to take the long way with no tolls, along I-35E, then cut over to Cesar Chavez Boulevard, then to Southside on Lamar. I paid extra cash and said, "No receipt." He looked in the mirror with a face that said, "I've driven Dallas nights. I know when to be quiet." On the ride, I taught Malik a breathing game. Count each bridge, 1 long breath out, 1 deep breath in, 1 long breath out to push the adrenaline down so the front brain can work again. I whispered, "It's time to stop being scared and start doing the math." That flipped a switch and lit up my checklist. Money quiet, cash only, no cards, no ATM, no coupons. Tech quiet, remove SIM, turn off Bluetooth, no public Wi-Fi, backup phone on only when needed and for 10 seconds or less. Picture quiet, avoid cameras, change hat, change walk. Use side paths, not main lines. Alley, Mr. Otis, the doorman who hates noise. A back door from the guard room to a quiet hallway. Evidence, take photos but only if safe. First use your eyes to remember things no one can erase. Handwriting, marker colors, the name Darius Mercer if it shows again. Exit, 2 doors, the service gate and the freight stairs. When you go in, find the way out first. Malik leaned on me but kept watching outside. Each dark space between bridge pillars looked like a question we hadn't asked yet. I whispered, "If you're tired, sleep. Grandma will watch." He shook his head. "I want to count." "Count what?" "The lights by the road so I know where the dark is." I smiled. He was learning the language of tonight, fast. The backup phone buzzed 3 times old spam, catching up from when it was on. I turned sound off and kept only vibrate for real needs. I thought about calling Mr. Otis first, then stopped. Calling leaves a trail. Otis is a man of routine. A walk every 45 minutes, changes his crossword cover every 2 hours, tea at 3 a.m. I would arrive between his rounds the 10-12-minute quiet window. Traffic thinned as we left the main road. On the left, old brick warehouses turned art studios. On the right, late bars washing glasses. Dallas at night is a big animal breathing slow. If you move light, it won't turn its head. I told the driver to stop behind the big brick building, not at the front gate. "There's a camera there," I said. He didn't ask questions and turned the headlights off 1 block early. I took Malik across the lot along a skinny strip of grass. A few windows glowed above. I remembered when we moved out. Simone said, "You need a bigger, quieter place." I didn't know what she planned to hide inside that quiet. A small guard door sat between 2 dark red walls. I knocked 3 short times, too long my old signal with Mr. Otis when I forgot my entry card. A pause, then the door opened. Sharp brown eyes under a shiny cap looked at me, then slid to Malik. He opened wide, no hello like usual, just waved us in. Inside. Now. The little room smelled like black tea and printer paper. Otis locked 3 locks, killed half the lights, and pulled the shade across the round window. He looked me in the eye. "Why are we going underground tonight?" I didn't circle around. Simone. Gas leak. Insurance papers. A man named Darius Mercer, and a child who pulled my hand at P3. Each phrase hit the desk like small stones over water. Otis's face didn't change, but his shoulders dropped a bit, the stance of someone moving from easy to alert. "What do you need?" he asked. "I need 2 things," I said. 1. Hide us 15 minutes so the boy can sleep and I can set a plan. 2. A way in and a way out if I have to go back home for evidence. Malik sat on the seat edge, hearing the orders like a song. He understood. From now on, every move has a beat. Otis nodded and handed me another brick phone. Burner SIM, just loaded. Call once, then toss, and a key ring for the freight door in the basement of the building across the street. Few people know this door. Go in and lock from inside. No one can tail you. Spearingly, Malik tugged my sleeve. "Grandma, what if Mama calls again?" I looked at him. "Then we don't answer with the phone she knows. We answer with evidence." I set the paper map down and marked 3 points. Home gas station, south side. I drew a triangle. "This triangle is our safe zone tonight. We'll hide at the top south side, then from here we go in, get it, get out." Otis poured tea and set it in front of me. "You plan to go in alone?" He asked, not to stop me, but to measure the risk. "I'll pick a time when Simone is not there," I said. "But what if she is back?" he asked. "Then I won't go in. I only go in when it's safe. Tonight we do the work of eyes. Look, remember, question." I checked the wall clock. 2:28 a.m. My safe window at home is 3 to 10, 3:25 when neighbors sleep deepest, and Simone, if she returns, usually drops into the gap between 2 choices. I won't gamble, but I also know evidence does not walk out by itself. Malik laid his head on his arms and breathed steady for 3 counts. I covered him with the thin blanket Mr. Otis gave us. Watching his face relax, I saw the reason for all this math. Family betrayal can push a mother to the cliff's edge. Love with boundaries can pull a child back if the grown-ups are willing to learn new steps. I sipped tea and wrote on the map edge. Plan A, take photos, touch nothing. Plan B, if someone is there, leave. Plan C, call 911 with the burner SIM, give the address, say the name Darius Mercer. Each word was a tiny nail I hammered into the wood of fear. When I walk out of this room, I won't be alone. I have one ally, one brave child, one paper map, and one new promise to myself. Travel the night with strategy. I turned to Otis and said the line I needed to hear most. It's time to stop being scared and start calculating. I let Malik sleep on the folding chair in the guard room and covered him with the thin blanket Mr. Otis gave us. The wall clock moved past 3:05 a.m. I took a long breath, pulled the hairpin from my bun, and put it in my coat pocket, along with the brick phone and the folded paper map. Otis handed me the freight door key to the building across the street and said, "Use the back way. If anything looks wrong, turn back. No heroes here, only practical." I nodded. Tonight, romance is a luxury I can't afford. The road back to Oak Cliff felt like a forgotten page in a book. I chose the no-toll route and cut through alleys with camera blind spots I knew by heart. The night wind bit into my bones, but my head felt hot. When I turned onto familiar Magnolia Street, I switched off my headlights at the corner so the darkness could finish its job. The house was silent. No Simone's car, no door open. I got out, kept my hands close to my sides, and stepped on the grass to avoid the crunch of gravel. The kitchen door was locked. I took out a thin piece of plastic, my old library card, as I joked slid it to the latch, pressed, and felt the metal tongue slip back like a fish tapped in the right spot. The door gave. Inside smelled like wood cleaner, with a faint hint of something half sweet, half burnt. I stood still for 3 counts, listening to the fridge hum and the clock tick 7 times. No footsteps, no voices. On the stairs to the second floor, 2 steps squeak under the right foot if you rush. I avoided them like a painful memory. The hall was dark. Simone's office door was locked, as I expected. I used the hairpin on the keyhole simple lock. 1, 2, 3, click. The sound was so small I wasn't sure I heard it. I turned the knob and pushed the door into a thin gray darkness. The room was neat enough to feel unlived in. Straight bookshelves, printer off, laptop closed, a cactus with exactly 2 drops of water on the saucer. I opened the curtain a tiny bit so streetlight could slip in enough for my eyes, not enough for any outside camera to see me. I started with the desk. Top drawer, pens, stapler, a conference badge. Second drawer, power and water bills normal. Third drawer, a thin red folder hidden under company papers. I put on thin gloves and opened it. On top was a stack of bank statements from a bank I've never used, with a strange account name. Regular transfers went to someone, something with Mercer in the description. Below that was a copy of Reginald Reggie Walker's insurance policy. In the top right corner was my signature. Beneficiary, Etta Mae Robinson, with funds held for Malik until age 21. In the margin, Simone's blue ink note. Solution, should look like accident check gas, cut smoke alarm, kitchen window. Next to cut smoke alarm was a tiny check mark, neat as a wink. I took quick photos of each page with the brick phone's weak camera, using the slit of light. The pictures weren't pretty, but the words were clear. I flipped more pages. A printed Microsoft Excel sheet with 3 columns. Advance balance pay date. The last row had a handwritten D. Mercer. The same name Malik had brought me without meaning to. My chest tightened like a clothesline pulled by rain. Sometimes doubt is a wandering cloud. Confirmation is a lightning strike. This strike didn't boom. It was my signature turned into a target. I put the folder back in the exact spot, lined up the ruler, angled the pen the way it was. No fingerprints, nothing out of place. I checked a side slot. There was a small black USB with no label. I did not take it. Taking it would trigger alarms, a change in drawer weight. I only fixed its spot in my memory. Back edge, right side, under the stiff cover sheet. I straightened up. At that moment, car lights swept across the window, one bright band across the wall. Then the front door clicked. My hand touched the desk lamp switch not to turn it on, but to remind myself, don't. Steps downstairs, 2 people. A man's low voice I'd never heard in person. We still on plan? And Simone's voice smooth as wet stone. Quiet. Check upstairs first. My blood ran backward for a second and then snapped back. I looked around the room. Closet, under the desk, behind the curtain. Not safe enough. Only the window to a narrow roof ledge, with the Whitfield's lawn below. The old ache in my left hip growled at me, but age wasn't allowed tonight. I slid the lock, raised the sash just enough to slip through. Outside, the wind slapped my face awake. A broom handle in the balcony corner became a short ladder. I wedged it against the wall edge and used it to lower my foot to a brick lip as wide as my hand. Inside, the steps reached the top of the stairs. "Mom?" Simone's voice. I pressed my back to the wall and edged toward a corner tangled with vine. Inch by inch. When my fingers hooked the trellis slats, I dropped to the grass. My knees sank into wet dirt. A small thud. I clenched my teeth and swallowed the flash of hip pain. Above me, the office window opened, and a flashlight swept out. "See anyone?" the man asked. Simone answered, low and sharp. "No one. But signs. No, everything's neat." The light skimmed the grass a yard from me, then pulled back. I crouched lower and crawled to the low fence between my yard and the Whitfields. I grabbed the top board and rolled over like an old cat, remembering how to jump. In their yard, the dark was deeper. I tiptoed along the trees and slipped out a side gate left ajar by a forgetful gardener. The side street felt like cold metal. I breathed deep and hit the burner. 911, what's your emergency? A calm woman's voice. I'm Etta Mae Robinson, I said slowly so I wouldn't stumble. Address 237 Magnolia Lane, Oak Cliff. I have evidence my daughter, Simone Robinson, is planning to stage a gas leak to kill me and my grandson Malik Robinson. A man named Darius Mercer is involved. They just came back to the house. I escaped into the Whitfield's yard next door. Your status right now? She asked. Safe for the moment. I have photos of bank statements, a copy of Reginald Walker's insurance with handwritten notes, and a payment sheet signed D. Mercer. I am not inside the house. Any weapons? I didn't see any. They used flashlights. Their voices sounded very alert. I'm sending units. Please stay where you are and do not go back inside. I heard keys tapping. Quick and sure. Can you send photos through a secure link? I'm on a phone with no data, but I can keep the phone until I meet an officer. I looked around. The street was still empty, only leaves moving. The nearest unit is approaching, she said. Describe your daughter and the man with her, please. Presses will be fond. I gave short, exact details. The line stayed open. Her voice felt like a rope tying me to a world with rules. I knew this was the turning point when suspicion breaks apart and fits back together as evidence. The ache in my hip beat with my heart like a small, steady fire. I said a sentence that sounded like steel even to me. When I saw my own signature turned into a target on that insurance page, I knew this is a battlefield. From the Whitfield's dark lawn, I looked at my house windows, steps, the family photo on the living room wall. Everything still stood there, calm as a stage with a swapped script. Family betrayal doesn't always kick a door. It changes the heading on a paper. It turns your name into a bullseye. When it does, the only thing left to hold is the law. Blue-red lights brushed the far end of the street. Radio chatter mixed with wind. A patrol car stopped 2 houses away, quiet as a ghost with a badge. An officer got out, looked up along my roofline, then scanned the trees where I hid. I raised my hands, palms open. He nodded, the other hand near his belt-trained motion. Another car blocked the other end. The dispatcher stayed on the line. Keep the phone open. Units are approaching you, I said softly. I'll step to the sidewalk, hands open, moving slow. In that moment, I remembered you listening to this in your own night, and I knew I had to say the needed line. If you want me to continue this family betrayal story, please like and share. More people need to hear a child's voice. I stepped out, hands slightly raised. An older officer, Officer Harold Banks, signaled me to stop, voice low. Ma'am, stay put. We're here. I nodded, thanked him with my eyes. In my wallet are years of being a mother. On my phone are shaky photos. Inside me is a line I've chosen. I won't go back into that house as a sleeper again. From now on, I return as the owner of a case. A river wind rolled down the street and lifted my coat hem. I heard myself whisper like a promise. Malik, baby, Grandma has seen it, and when adults see, adults must do their part. Dallas night stayed cold, but I didn't shake anymore. Calmly, I handed the brick phone to Sergeant Andre Coleman when he reached me. The photos are here, I said. Their plan is here too, in every word. He nodded, put on gloves, checked the phone, then looked up with less doubt in his eyes. In the way he said, "Ma'am," I heard a new tone. Trust. Right then, between 2 sweeps of flashlights, I knew I had crossed a ridge. Pain no longer dragged me down. It had become legal resolve, lifting me up. On the other side, nothing gets easier. But now I have the law, allies, and a child who taught me to trust the truth, even when the truth speaks in a very small voice. The main hallway at the Dallas Central Police Station felt as long as a tired breath. Pale neon light washed over plastic chairs. Old coffee and copy paper smells mixed in the air. I sat on the edge of a chair, hands laced so I wouldn't shake, the little brick phone set neatly like a tiny stamp in front of me. Sergeant Andre Coleman pulled on new gloves and scrolled through the photos. I took bank transfers to D. Mercer, a copy of Reginald Reggie Walker's insurance with my own signature, a neat blue note that read, "Should look like accident gas, cut smoke alarm, kitchen window." Officer Harold Banks stood at an angle, tapping an old wooden pencil on a file cover. Slow, steady, patient but firm. "Enough to ask for a warrant to search," the sergeant said, voice less doubtful now. He looked straight at me. "Ma'am, you did the right thing. You're alive tonight because you believed a child." Hearing that, I wanted to cry, but only a dry cough came out. The wall clock said 4:02 a.m. I thought of Malik. If this were a normal morning, he'd be waking soon, lying still to hear the birds and waiting for me to call him for his medicine. We call it our alarm clock by eyes. Now, the hands felt like they were turning backward to a time I couldn't reach. The public door opened. Mr. Otis Harrison walked in, light bandage on his hand, a small white strip on his forehead. He moved slowly but straight, like his spine was tied to an invisible cord of discipline. I stood up. "Otis." He lifted a calming hand. "I'm fine, Miss Etta. Just slipped an ugly bump. I gave them the freight door location and the elevator code in case we need to go back." His brown eyes met mine and held for a beat. "Not your fault." He didn't say it, and the words couldn't cut through the glass wall of self-blame in my chest. Officer Banks guided Otis to give a quick statement. Sergeant Coleman handed me a hot cup of tea. "It's hot, careful." I wrapped my hands around it like holding a small breathing bird. A young officer brought a hospital hot pack and asked if I wanted it on my hip. I nodded and set it there. Warmth spread like ink. For one moment, I let myself lean back, close my eyes, and let my body complain instead of clenching my teeth. The radio scratched. An officer hurried down the hall and handed Coleman a printout. He skimmed it, face tightening. He stepped to me, speaking slowly like placing stones in a river. "Ma'am." Simone picked up Malik at an old South Side apartment. Witness says she led the boy out like everything was normal. No struggle. The words smashed on the tile and shattered like glass. I jumped up. The hot pack rolled off my leg. My ears flooded with static. In my head, a cold voice ran on its own. "You left him. You let him sleep. You left the door of the world open." I grabbed the table edge until it burned my nails. "My fault," I whispered. "My fault." The sergeant shook his head, solid and warm like thick wood. "No. You did everything a person under a deadly threat can do. Got the child out, found an ally, brought evidence. The rest is our job." He set the paper in front of me, witness note, shoe and hat description, time 3:36. A red line on a small map showed movement north. Under the soft buzz of neon, I heard my heartbeat clearly. Then, in a corner of my mind, a small yellow light blinked. Malik, how he remembers numbers, how he names ordinary things his own way. "The house with a lake," I murmured. She told him a surprise house. "There's a lake, some trees, a long drive to get there." "You said house with a lake?" Officer Banks stepped closer. Pencil stopped tapping. I nodded, and my words turned back into steps I could climb. 2 weeks ago. Malik said it at dinner. He said, "Mama took me to a place in the country, with a lake, an old wood barn. I saw a deer. I thought it was a homestay." My voice caught. I didn't ask more. "North of Dallas has many lakes," the sergeant said. "Lake Ray Roberts, Louisville, Grapevine, Lavon." He turned to the desk officer. "Run property records for the last 6 months. Owner or renter tied to Simone Robinson or possible associates. Filter private ranches with an old barn, 6,120 minutes by car. Prefer names with river, creek, or ranch." He looked back at me. "Anything else, no matter how small?" I closed my eyes and replayed that dinner. Hot porridge, spoon clinks, a window smelling of fresh rain. Malik resting his chin on his hand, staring at something past my shoulder, telling about the deer stepping at the water's edge. A black mailbox with silver letters, and a name he said in a 7-year-old way. R. River. Something. I opened my eyes. "It starts with River," Malik said, silver letters on the mailbox, big R. The sergeant wrote fast, "River mailbox, silver letters." He signaled a tech. Pull DOT cameras headed north. Flag kids matching Malik hood up, dinosaur backpack. Also ping outer gas stations for cameras where Simone might have switched vehicles. Mr. Otis came back and handed me water. "That boy is smart like a map that breathes," he said. I nodded thanks. I could see how family betrayal pushed us into a maze, but it also lit memory threads in Malik's mind. Deer, barn, lake, silver letter mailbox. Loose pieces started lining up into a route. The front desk phone rang once. A woman officer called out, "Report from a northbound I-35E gas station. Woman about 35, matches Simone. Took a boy in a black hoodie into the restroom. Came out after 12 minutes. Changed the boy's shirt." The car's plate, car left behind, they switched to a beige pickup. One camera frame caught a mailbox as they left silver letters reading Riverwood. The whole hallway stretched and snapped back. I grabbed the table. My fingers tingled. Riverwood. The name fell right into the spot Malik's memory had set. The sergeant turned to me. "You hear that?" I nodded, like someone had pulled a heavy cabinet off a stuck door. He didn't waste a second. "Riverwood Ranch off Highway 142 near Lake Ray Roberts. Team 1, roll. Team 2, notify Highway Patrol. Team 3, check warrants tied to that ranch, prioritize child protection orders." Boots pounded down the hall. Officer Banks stayed with me and Otis. He set his broad hand on my shoulder, the hand of someone who has seen many storms. "Mrs. Robinson, breathe in. You'll need a long breath for what's next." I did it. In for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 6, the bridge-counting breath Malik uses in the car. I put my other hand on my chest and felt my heart settle closer to normal. One thought came clear, like bold print. I'm no longer in the land of feelings. I've stepped into the land of action, and the guide is a child's memory. I turned to Mr. Otis. "Do you remember back roads into Lake Ray Roberts?" He smiled a little. "I remember the farm roads with wide grass shoulders, but you are not driving there yourself. You'll ride in a patrol car, and you'll sit still until they say step out. That's how Otis says I trust you, but be careful." Sergeant Coleman came back with a thin police jacket. "Ride with us. But you stay in the car, okay? We need you for ID, but we won't put you in the hot zone." I nodded, thanks. Someone pressed a yellow visitor badge into my palm. Visitor, but priority. I almost laughed inside. I never thought at 70 I'd have a charm like this. Before we left, I leaned my forehead to the small window. The AC hummed like far waves. I whispered to myself, to Malik, to anyone watching this in their own night. When grown-ups are lost, sometimes the map lives in a child's memory. So we must respect the small voice even when it hurts, even when it makes us redraw the family map from zero. We walked to the lot. Lights flipped to blue-red, but no siren. The car slid like it lifted off the road. Dallas went to sleep in the rear view. Ahead, dark rows of trees led toward the lake. I gripped the seatbelt, sat straight, eyes open. Family betrayal pushed our boat into the current. Malik's memory just put a paddle in my hands. I'll hold that paddle tight until I see our child step into the light. Before sunrise, tiny white drops of dew sat on the wooden fence at Riverwood Ranch. Far away, Lake Ray Roberts looked dark blue and still, like a giant piece of glass that could breathe. Our cars turned off their lights on a low hill. Sergeant Andre Coleman lowered his window and spoke very softly on the radio. "Quiet surround, no sirens. Team 1, move left around the old barn. Team 2, take the porch corner and kitchen door. Team 3, hold the trail to Highway 142. Miss Etta sat in the back seat, holding the edge of the police jacket he gave me at the precinct. Officer Harold Banks turned and spoke in a calm, deep voice. "Stay in the car until we say. When you get out, walk slow, hands open, keep your distance. If anything goes wrong, step back right away." I nodded. My chest felt tight like a rope around it, but my breathing was steady, the same count Malik and I used on the I-35E bridges. The radio crackled. Movement on the front porch. Through the car window, I saw the ranch house line. Dark wood, wide porch, old posts. The front door swung open. Simone stepped out, hair stuck to her temples. Her right arm was straight out in her hand, a small gun shining like ice. Her left arm held Malik tight against her chest, gripping his wrist like a rail. Malik stood tall, only tilting his head a little, eyes scanning the yard calm on purpose. "Stop right there!" Simone shouted, her voice rough and broken, like a string pulled too hard. "One more step and I'll shoot." Sergeant Coleman stood behind an oak tree. He did not wave his gun around. He spoke loud enough to reach the porch. "Simone Robinson, I'm Sergeant Coleman with Dallas PD. The house is surrounded. Our first goal is Malik's safety. Put the gun down and walk slowly down the steps." Simone gave a strange, empty laugh. "Safe? You took everything from me." "My mother," her throat shook. "She always takes." My hand opened the car door before I knew it. Officer Banks leaned forward. "Ma'am," I whispered, "let me talk. I won't go close." He looked to the sergeant. Coleman gave a tiny nod. "Give her 2 sentences. Mrs. Robinson, keep 10 steps distance." I stepped onto the grass. Cold dew touched my pants. The air smelled like wet wood and weeds. I knew I was walking a tight line between two sides. One side was a furious mother, the other side was a grandmother who must stay calm and negotiate to protect the child. "Simone," I called, keeping my voice low and slow, like soothing a sick child at night. "Look at me." She turned. Our eyes met. For a moment I saw two layers: the little girl who once hugged her knees during storm dreams, and the grown woman holding a gun and using her son as a shield. "You have not lost everything, Simone," I said, taking one step. "No more. You're standing at your last chance." Simone squeezed her arm. Malik winced. I stopped right there and held up my empty hands. "Don't talk to me about chances," she hissed. "My chances died when Dad died, when you kept every dollar, every signature, every wall in that house. You always decide. You always hold the keys." Wind knocked the porch chimes. I spoke softly but clear so the officers could hear. "You truly believe Reggie's money is yours, and you truly believe if I live and Malik lives, you'll never touch it. But the truth is different, Simone. Your share was never the money." "Shut up!" she snapped. Her hands shook a little. The gun shifted. Malik flicked his eyes toward the barn behind the house, then back to the sergeant. An officer near the barn slid into a blind spot by the porch. I didn't look at Malik. I didn't let Simone see my eyes move. You want to fix your life with one gamble, fake the deaths of your mother and your child. You think that's the shortcut past the money wall. But the truth is, that's the highest wall you'll face for the court, for the record, and inside Malik's heart. "His heart?" Simone laughed high. "He betrayed me." I shook my head. "He saved you. He saved you from killing your own child, a crime you could never wash away. You call it betrayal. I call it light. And the truth is, tonight's family betrayal did not start with Malik. It started with the whispered calls, the insurance copy with my signature turned into a target. The gun dipped a hair. Simone swallowed. "You turned your back on me when I was drowning in debt. You said discipline. When I needed help, you said on time, on paper. Because only on time, on paper gets people out of debt," I said, still not moving my feet. "Guns and fake accidents put people where there are no doors." The sergeant whispered from behind me, "Keep pace, you're pulling her." I heard a soft click somewhere. The left unit was in position. I looked into Malik's eyes. He stood still, doing his job, listening and counting. I breathed in. "Simone, put the gun down. You haven't lost everything. You're at your last chance. A chance to live. A chance for Malik to tell the doctor his mom stopped in time. A chance for you to get treatment, tell the truth, and save the part of you that's still a mother." Silence long enough to hear leaf on leaf. Then Simone cried out, like someone kicked an old memory, "You always want to control me." "No," I said, and my voice fell on the porch like a warm cloth. "I want to set boundaries so truth can breathe. So tonight, I'm not begging. I'm setting terms. Let Malik go, put the gun down, and take one step toward the truth. If you pull the trigger, you close every door. No one can save you from that truth." The gun lowered a little. Her forearm trembled. Malik turned his body half a step in, opening a thin exit. I remembered the sergeant's line. When a child trusts, he finds the path. I let my hands drop lower, palms out, a safe signal for Malik. "Simone," I called once more. This time I spoke not about money or law. "Do you remember your laugh at age 4, under the first rain in Oak Cliff? I carried you in, wrapped you in a towel, and you said, 'Don't wipe the rain. Let me keep the smell of rain. You are most beautiful when you don't have to be afraid.'" Her eyes flicked, an old light flashed and faded. In that small slip, Malik bit her forearm hard and kicked out like a fish slipping a net. The gun jumped up. A shot ripped the mist. Sergeant shouted, "Move!" Officers rushed from both sides like falling shadows. I ran 2 steps to the porch edge and pulled Malik into my arms just as Simone screamed, torn and harsh, while being handcuffed. "Don't, Malik, don't!" I pressed Malik's head to my shoulder and counted for him. 1, 2, 3, breathe. His heart pounded like a drum, then slowed into rhythm. I smelled gun smoke and wet grass. In that chaos, I didn't look at Simone. I looked at the horizon, where a thin pink line was opening the night. "House is clear," an officer called. Darius Mercer was pinned by the barn, face to the dirt, wrists bound. Officer Banks touched my shoulder. "Mrs. Robinson, Malik is okay. Let's move to the medic unit." I nodded. Before turning away, I spoke steady and plain, like reading a verdict to myself. Family betrayal can't be washed with another lie. It only stops when someone chooses the truth with two open hands. Malik looked up. His eyes were older than last night, but brighter than any neon I've seen. "Grandma," he breathed. "We have the smell of rain." I smiled, as tears fell on his forehead, salty like the lake. "Yes, baby, the smell of a morning alive." Behind us, Simone was led across the grass, head down. I heard the handcuffs clink like a bent alarm clock. Sergeant Coleman walked over and nodded. His eyes held no doubt now only procedure and human care. "We'll do our part," he said. "You do yours with Malik. Treatment, truth, boundaries." I held the boy. The dawn mist grew thicker on my arms. On that porch, the emotional turn happened. A mother's rage was locked behind cuffs, and a grandmother's calm talk opened a path to life for a child. The sun edged up over the trees, drawing a thin gold line on Riverwood Ranch as if somewhere, in a place with law, someone had just signed a brand new morning. Morning sun slid under the porch roof and touched the scratched wood like marks of time. Miss Etta held Malik close. I could still hear the bullet that flew up into the air, like lightning pulled sideways out of the sky. The smell of gunpowder mixed with wet grass and the sweat of fear, then slowly made room for the breath of staying alive. Before I could say anything, Malik tilted his head, those quiet dark eyes watching like always, and looked toward the barn. That glance wasn't just a habit, it was a direction. I understood. A child's eyes had just led the grown-ups through the night. The tactical team slipped out of the tree shadows and took back the porch corners. Sergeant Andre Coleman lifted a hand with no words, keeping the line tight. By the barn, 2 officers pressed Darius Mercer face down in the dirt and tied his wrists. His mouth mumbled the empty sounds of someone who just dropped his courage. I looked once at Simone, hair messy, eyes hollow, both wrists in cold cuffs. Her sticky anger was wrapped up by procedure now. On this porch, the madness had no air left. "Grandma," Malik said softly, still gripping my coat. "I didn't try to act brave. I was scared. But when I saw a shadow by the barn, it felt like a voice told me to count." I paused. Count his word during hard moments. "What did you count, son?" I counted Mama's breaths. Each time Mama held her breath to look down the gun, there was a gap. I counted 3 gaps, and then I saw her arm get tired and the gun drop a little. I thought, if I bit right then, the shot would go off target. My throat closed not from fear, but from awe. A 7-year-old stood on the edge of death and used his own little science to find a way out. Breaths, wrist angle, timing. I hugged him tighter, wanting to save that heartbeat in my memory forever. I said it both a confession and a thank you. I was 70 years old when I finally learned how to truly listen from a 7-year-old boy. A medic walked up. Paramedic Nia Brooks set down her kit, warm and steady. "Let me see your hand, Malik." He held it out without letting go of me. Nia worked fast cold pack on the scrape. Pulse check. Light in the eyes moved smooth like a song with no words. "He's okay," she said. "Watch his stress. Let him sleep later. I'll take you both to the unit in a minute." At the porch edge, Officer Harold Banks called low. "Sergeant, the second suspect confirmed paid by S to stage a gas leak and make it look like an accident." We didn't need to say intent again. Truth now stood in the yard like a new signpost. In the first light, I saw the face of family betrayal. No longer a shadow in secret calls, but letters on bank slips, handwriting in contract margins, axe in the barn, and a wild shot kicked off course by one quick bite. They led Simone away. As she passed, she turned, face stiff and empty. I said nothing. With betrayal like this, sharp words are just salt on iron, only squeaks. No help. I pulled Malik closer, a living wall between my child and my grandchild. Sergeant Coleman glanced over and gave me a small nod that said few words. Our job hold the child. Their job put the night back in order. "What did you see at the barn?" I asked Malik, to keep him standing on the ground of words, where fear stays put instead of breaking loose. "I saw a shadow move and a glint on something like a box cutter," he said, steady like a science report. I thought, if I yelled, "Ow!" Mama would tighten her arm and the gun would go level. I had to shock her with my teeth so the gun would point up. I let out a long breath, the first in hours that didn't feel like metal. "You don't have to explain to be forgiven," I said. "You just need to know. You chose life for you, and for the truth." Across the yard, they walked Darius away. I heard scraps, plea, deal, the language of practical people at the wall. Maybe he'll talk. Maybe he recorded. Maybe he'll blame Simone. But tonight, the rescue game reached its last square. The child was pulled out of the bullet's path. "Mrs. Robinson!" The sergeant came over, his face easier now. "We're taking Simone to county for arraignment. Darius is with my detective. From here, we follow the law. I want you and Malik to the hospital for full checks, then rest a day. After that, we'll take detailed statements, including the boy's breath counting." "Yes," I said, my voice flat and steady like a lake after wind. "Thank you for no sirens." He gave a quick, rare smile for a uniform after a peak moment. Sometimes silence is the best tactic, especially for whispers like Malik's. To delve down, Nia Brooks walked us toward the ambulance. At the porch steps, Malik paused a heartbeat. I understood. Porches can look the same. Tight arms can echo the feeling from minutes ago. I bent to his eye level. "You're not standing there anymore. You're walking away now. Each step is a new count." He nodded. 1, 2, 3. On the soft cot, Malik held my hand. Nia asked about his medicine, stress signs, and sleep. I answered clear and short the way I just learned from him. Count what matters. Outside the doors, radios hissed. Boots hit gravel. Cuffs clicked. Morning was awake. Before the doors closed, I looked back at the porch once more. Slanting sun painted the ranch steps like honey on toast, peaceful enough to be cruel. I knew why people don't believe stories like mine because the surface looks calm. But family betrayal isn't measured by surfaces. It's measured by choices made in the gaps, like Malik showed me. Between two breaths, between two patches of silence. We left Riverwood Ranch, tires crunching the wet tracks, wind chimes faint behind us. Malik fell asleep, his arm still around my wrist like at P3, but now the squeeze wasn't an alarm. It was a promise. I listened to his even breathing, each one like a pen stroke on a fresh page. In the medic bay, Nia Brooks hung the blood pressure cuff and smiled. "Want a superhero sticker, Malik?" he murmured. "I want a deer sticker." Nia and I both laughed. The markers of memory that led us stood in the right places now. The deer by the lake, the barn, the silver letters on the mailbox, small pieces that brought the grown-ups to the exact coordinates of truth. I looked at my hands, thin knuckles, blue veins like a dry river map. I thought of Simone. I won't forgive the act. The law will handle that part. But I won't deny another truth. Some part of her was once good. If doctors say she needs mental health treatment, I'll sign. I'll do the adult work. Set boundaries, make safety, open a door to healing only when truth is respected. The rig swayed as we turned onto the main road. I stroked Malik's hair and whispered, "You led me through this night." He didn't open his eyes, just moved his lips. "Grandma, you heard me." Yes, I set a promise for the days ahead and a period for the climax. I heard and I'll always hear, because I was 70 years old when I finally learned how to truly listen from a 7-year-old boy. Outside the window, Dallas woke up and hung thin threads of sunlight in the sky. The climax ended not with a bang, but with a breath. The breath of a child who led the way, and the breath of a grandmother who discovered the power of listening. The rest will be papers, court, doctors' rooms with walls, clocks, and signatures. But here, in this white van driving toward the city, we laid the first brick over the crack left by family betrayal. That brick's name is Truth and a Child. On the wooden porch, where the morning sun spread like honey, paramedic Nia Brooks set up a small first aid corner. Bandages, a stethoscope, a small blood pressure cuff. Malik sat on a thin blanket, his eyes less scared now, watching Nia's steady hands. I stood behind him, both hands on his shoulders like another porch roof. At the edge of the grass, police wrapped up the scene. The radio was only a soft buzz like bees. Simone had been taken away. The case file was open. A morning shift psychiatrist was called to the jail for an initial evaluation. A new cycle of steps, law, rules, treatment began right as the sun rose over the trees. I asked Sergeant Coleman for 1 minute to speak to my daughter before they drove off. He nodded. "Stand outside the car, door open, under supervision." When I walked up, Simone kept her head down, messy hair on her cheeks. The rage had drained from her eyes. Now there was a white, empty tiredness. I said exactly 3 sentences for a safe, decent goodbye. "Simone, I won't excuse what you did. The law will do the law's part." My part is caring for Malik and setting clear boundaries. Treatment, truth, safety. If one day you truly want to heal, I will listen. I didn't touch her, and I didn't let her touch me. Hands that used to hug had to learn the right distance. The door shut, the cuffs clicked once more, and the cars turned around. Malik tugged my sleeve. "Does Mama love me, Grandma?" A small question with a big echo. I knelt to his eye level and chose each word like stepping stones across a stream. There's an illness inside that makes people see things bent, even love. Your mom once loved you, and that part didn't vanish, but the illness made her choose choices we cannot accept. Real love doesn't cover up crimes. Real love sets boundaries so truth can breathe. So I choose to protect you, to choose the truth, and to help your mom get treatment if she truly wants it. Nia handed me a care sheet. Today, full medical check, then rest for Malik. In the next days, schedule a child therapist regularly. I'll give you a list. I nodded, thanks. In my head, I drew a new schedule. Hospital this morning, precinct this afternoon for more statements. Tonight we stay in the small room behind Mr. Otis's guard desk. Tomorrow morning, call the public defender and contact a child therapist. Small squares for survival, healing, and law colored in one by one. I asked Malik to close his eyes for 1 minute, just to hear himself. "What do you hear?" "I hear wind on the grass." I smiled. "Right. And under the wind?" My heartbeat slowing down. We counted together, 4 in, hold 4, 6 out. Each cycle was a ticket away from shock. When he opened his eyes, Malik pointed toward the lake. "See? The light is crawling through the low bushes." A child's way to say it, but exactly right. Light doesn't only shine down. It finds paths through the thicket, like last night's truth found its way through dark hallways. Officer Harold Banks brought me a clear plastic bag with my brick phone, the folded paper map, and a few small items. "Mrs. Robinson, we'll keep copies of the photos. You keep the phone, but don't use it until Tech gives instructions. There may be press questions tonight. We'll protect your privacy as much as possible." I thanked him. Privacy is what we need so Malik can recover and the truth can do its quiet work. Before leaving the porch, I stood straight and looked at the ranch house one last time. Not to feel attached, but to remember. A morning pulled the knife out of our chest. Here, family betrayal showed its face and was called by its right name. I know the road ahead isn't short. Therapy sessions with tears, sleepless nights, sudden nightmares, tough questions from court, from social workers, and from Malik himself as he grows. But we also have 3 markers. Truth as the ground, boundaries as the fence, community as the streetlights like Nia, the sergeant, Mr. Otis, and the Whitfields whose loose gate saved a life. In the ambulance, Malik rested his head on my shoulder. I told the story of the deer by the lake and praised his brave breath counting to find the escape moment. "You don't have to be a hero," I said. "You just need to be honest about your feelings, go to therapy, and speak up right away if anything makes you feel unsafe." He nodded slowly. "What if one day I want to see Mama? When the doctor says it's safe and the lawyer says it's by the book, I'll go with you. Every visit will be supervised with clear boundaries. Our love isn't a door left wide open. It's a door opened at the right time, in the right way." As the ambulance left Riverwood Ranch, I looked back once more. The sun was higher, and the wind chimes sounded like spoons tapping a soup pot, the kitchen of life calling us home. I held Malik's hand and whispered something only the 2 of us would get. "Last night, it doesn't matter who saved who. The small voice saved us both." He smiled, a thin, thread-like smile, just enough to stitch a torn seam. At the hospital, Nia handed us to the day team and repeated the last points. Watch stress signs, protect sleep, no interviews. At the clinic door, Sergeant Coleman stopped and stamped the moment with one line. "The rest is files and treatment. Go slow and steady. We're here." I squeezed his hand, rare for me to start a touch and let go. Some hands don't need long to say thank you. I know our story doesn't end here. It just changes form. From running to rebuilding, from fear to repair. This morning puts a period on the climax and opens a chapter called Healing with Boundaries. We'll write it line by line with appointments, paperwork, talks between grandmother and child, kettles of hot water, and windows opened for sunlight to come in. On the new fridge, I'll post 3 lines. Tell the truth. Ask for help. Not alone. That's how we keep walking after family betrayal. And before your screen jumps to the next video, here's a hook for the new path. When a family learns to set boundaries, what happens to the memories that hurt? Do they vanish? Or do they turn into guiding light? If this family betrayal story touched your heart, please support us with a small click to subscribe. If you aren't satisfied, leave a comment below. And if you still don't like our video, please click like so we can learn and make the next videos better for you. Thank you for watching to the end. Don't forget to tap the end screen to watch the next stories waiting to be told.